Hey guys, Omni here. So last night I watched Gunpowder Milkshake, which is a new Netflix original film that seems to be trying to cash in on the John Wick craze. It's directed and written by Navot Papushado and stars Karen Gillan, Lena Headey, Chloe Coleman, Carla Gugino, Michelle Yeoh, Angela Bassett, and Paul Giamatti. This film goes into a lot of your typical John Wick-isms by establishing these different organizations, this world, this kind of like underground society that seems to be running behind the scenes in everyday life. The problem here is it's not very well fleshed out. The rules of this world as we're going through the movie are not very well established, and they are even inconsistent at times, which they even acknowledge as part of the narrative but that for me doesn't necessarily excuse it. It kind of causes some motivations to be a little bit at odds with what's going on in here as we're going throughout the film. The story focuses on Karen Gillan's character Samantha, who is basically your person that you send in to clean up a mess, and by clean up a mess I mean make it by dropping a lot of bodies. That is typically the way those scenarios go. When anything goes wrong, they send her in to kind of take care of things. One of these missions does not go according to plan, and she ends up finding this young girl who needs her help and her protection in this, and due to her own conscience and her own past, she decides to help this young girl. This in turn, with this already kind of shaky relationship having botched this previous mission, which ends up putting her at odds with her employer and the crime syndicate in which she just attacked. While on the run protecting this kid, she ends up reuniting with her mother, who used to be in this life as well, to help her protect this child. And that's when we meet our whole cast of characters as we're kind of going through this entire journey while she's just trying to stay alive. This movie goes for a over-stylized version of this reality. Like, in a way, it's like an amalgamation of different time periods. It's very anachronistic in where you are. The technology is always very vague. It's very stylized. In some ways, it's very noir and 60s feelings. And some days it does feel kind of modern. In that way, it reminds me a lot of like the world of Archer, where it's very reminiscent of old-timey spy stuff. But at the same time, there's a lot of elements of it that feel very modern. So there's a lot of blends of tones from the fashion to the neon aesthetic. It's very kind of like atomic blonde going on in here. The inner workings of this world is not very fleshed out, and at times it contradicts itself quite often. And they try to play it off as part of the narrative. They can bend the rules and change them on a whim for whatever best suits them. And that's one of the problems I have with the film is like, if you're bending and changing your rules, it makes it really hard to kind of get on board with your narrative. That's one thing I think the John Wick series did really well, is that anytime there was like a change or new information, there was a lore behind it. There was an explanation. Like even in the first film, it's very simple and you understand how it works, sometimes without even any words. Like it's a very straightforward way this world operates. And this one is very not fleshed out or even grounded or concrete. And when you're shifting your own rules, and even if you say your group changes their rules all the time, it makes it hard as the viewer to really know exactly what the stakes are at times. And for that, I feel like we had these different things. We have the librarians, we have this firm, we have this Russian crime syndicate, and they each supposedly seem to have some type of interacting relationship with one another, but it's never explained, and it just leaves the audience a little confused. At least for me and other people I've talked to that have actually watched this as well. It's just not very well executed. The movie also kind of struggles with tones. It goes for a very campy feeling. Like it's very, like at times it almost feels like it's poking fun of itself. And you see a lot of that with the firm and the crime syndicate and the goons that they send after them. Like it's just like cartoony at times. It's hilarious. The people that are after her are so laughably incompetent at their job. It is embarrassing to watch at times. I had a lot of fun poking fun at this movie, and I did do like a watch along for the Patreon and the YouTube memberships. If you want to check those out, of course, that's where that's at. But it's like, my God, it was so nonsensical. Like, I don't even know another way to describe it. Like, the movie, again, kind of has a conflict of tones. Like, at times it's taking itself pretty seriously, and at other times it's just like, having really fun with this concept and just playing with it and just kind of being a parody of a John Wick film. And in that way, I had a lot of fun with those moments. I was laughing a lot in this movie because it is absurd. Just the level of incompetency that goes into this. Like, it just dumbfounds me how this becomes so much of a struggle for this character to get out of here. For having done a lot of action in the past, here recently, especially, Karen Gillan does not do a great job with the action in this. There's one scene in particular where she has a hand-to-hand fight scene where she's using a suitcase as a weapon. That is one of the worst choreographed and executed fight scenes I've seen in recent memory. When she loses the suitcase, however, it vastly improves. I don't know what it ever was about that suitcase sequence, but it was so bad. Like, it was so blatantly choreographed, and like they just rehearsed it the day of or just before they shot the scene. When she dropped that, though, it was a lot better. The gunplay in this, it also does not live up to standards of anything we've seen before. Nobody does it better. The Taken series does it better. Like, all these other series, I would say, is kind of in this wheelhouse, have done it better. Atomic Blonde, fuck, that movie was great with the action. Like, things that this is kind of comparing to, it just doesn't live up to those on any level, no matter how you look at it, except for the fact that it's just ridiculous. It is, like, I don't know if that's intentional, though. Like, I don't know if it's definitely trying to be funny when it's trying to be funny. Like, there are times where it is definitely trying to be funny, and it succeeds. However, there's a lot of moments where I find it really hilarious to watch, and I don't feel like that was the point or the purpose. Oddly enough, Lena Headey is not in this as much as you would expect, and when she is on screen, it does kind of feel like she's just kind of there. She doesn't really command any of the screen. Oddly enough, the moment anybody enters a room with Angela Bassett, they lose. Angela Bassett, every time she's on screen, is owning and commanding that screen. That's one of her, she's like the strongest presence in this film. And I had a lot of fun with her and her group. Her group was really interesting. Chloe Coleman, the kid in this, the young girl that Karen Gillan is trying to protect, also does a standout job. I think she kind of drives a little bit of the heart and levity of this whole situation at the same time. Like, there is a darker subject matter in there that results to how she ends up in Karen Gillan's care, but they just kind of like hand wave it away after a little while. For a film that's trying to emulate a lot of other films like this, like your Atomic Blondes, your John Wicks, your Takens, your Nobodies, it just it doesn't meet any of those at all as far as the action, the story, the world building, the performances themselves. None of it really lives up to it. It just comes across like a mediocre kind of cash grab to kind of get their ball in the court to see if anybody will pick it up and maybe this will score or whatever. Again, it is just included with your Netflix subscription series, but we've seen that they've made original films that do stand out and have some great writing, directing, and production quality to them, some great action, but it's just all really lacking here. And I don't know if that comes down to this director not being familiar or experienced in this type of work. Again, I'm not familiar with anything that they've made before because it's mostly shorts and foreign short films and stuff like that. So I don't know, but it just comes off as a weak attempt to kind of make something similar to John Wick, build out your kind of cryptic, underground, seedy, behind the scenes assassin world, but it just doesn't build up to that at all. And it feels like it goes for style over substance in a lot of those ways, because again, there's a lot of slow-mo that I think would make Zack Snyder a little jealous. And there's a lot of neon aesthetics. There's a lot of pastel-y colors. There's a lot of noir kind of stylistic elements to it. There's a lot of, like I've said before, a lot of blends of different time periods and eras in the technology, the weapons, the fighting, the way the organization operates. It's just a very confused attempt at building out a new world and establishing it. And I don't know if they plan on trying to make more of these, like a Gunpowder Milkshake 2. But for somebody who has done a lot of action, they did a really bad job at making Karen Gillan look like she knows what she's doing, when I've seen her do great action before. And the action itself is very cut and dry, very poorly edited. The choreography is not that great. There's a couple of good moments, and there's one creative fight scene in this in a hospital, which I did enjoy, and it definitely was entertaining. It was a laugh, it was fun, it was interesting, but I don't know. This movie was just very underwhelming. So for me, I don't know if I would recommend it. If you want to check it out, check it out. But for me, I don't think this is a go out and watch it. I feel like this, if you don't have anything better to do, maybe you can sit down and check this out. But there's other things on Netflix I would recommend before this. But if you want to see my reaction to this, it's on my Patreon. I recorded my reaction to the entire film, and it was an entertaining watch, but it was, again, a lot of the times at the detriment to the film itself. I was laughing throughout most of the watch of the film and just confused, questioning a lot of things that were happening on screen, why things were happening. It became more of a commentary than a reaction, to be honest, but it is what it is, guys. If you saw this film, what did you think of it? Sound off in the comments. Let me know your thoughts down below. We'll carry on the conversation after the video. Come follow me on all my socials. My Discord link and all that is in the description of this video. Before we go, I want to shout out our channel legends, Mandy, Sharon, Ryan, Karen, Jason, Coleman, and Philly Vane. Thank you guys, as always, for your support. And that's it for this one. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care, everybody.